Hey everyone, Art Trading here. Welcome back to the channel. So today just going to go over the setups that I took personally today on my PA accounts and also just some ideas in general. So took 3 trades today, ended the day with in the green, 1 loss, 1 break even, and 1 win. That covered the loss, which was nice. So just kind of going to go over the very first setup. We did have 8:30 Eastern news today. So I like to wait about like 10-15 minutes before taking anything from there for obvious reasons. So hopping on pre-market, as you can see here, based on 10-second zones and the 1 minute on the right over here. More so on this trade, we did have Asia high resting up here. So I figured before we come down to data lows right here, we probably would take Asia high, which eventually we did before coming back down to data lows. But one thing that I failed to notice was there was SMT with ES, because ES did take Asia high technically, and NQ didn't. So that was kind of the one thing that went against this trade pretty much. But that's all right. It's gonna happen. We can't always go over every single Confluence that could affect the trade, because in the end there will always be something that can go against you. And if that's the case, you probably would never end up taking a trade, and that's fine. So going with this over here, we did have a 1 minute. This is actually more so 1 minute zone. Wasn't too keen on taking the move origin, which would have been over here. Reason being, it was pre-market, so for me that would have been a little bit too tight. I mean, that would have only been about like 3-4 points. Which isn't bad, but I figured, zones in general will have a high probability anyways, so I might as well take the whole zone. So like I said, we had a 1 minute zone closed above, so it was a nice close. If it did not close above this high, then no way I would have taken this long. So created a zone, went for 60% fib on the zone of this 1 minute. Tap me in over here, and then just went straight to the loss. So that was about like 7-point loss. I was going for 10.25. So I just kind of started off the day like that. At that point, nothing really that set up. I was okay with actually shorting out of this 1 minute zone. It came a little too close to market open. It was going to be around like up here. So usually around like 9:20 Eastern, I don't even bother taking position. Typically around 9:25, there's some sort of volume injection as well. And then from there, 9:30 to pretty much 9:50, 10 o'clock, I stayed off the I stayed on the charts, but I was not executing anything. We kind of just chopped around a little bit and eventually started to dive down to those data lows. And really more so nothing on the way down. A couple of spots that I would have been okay entering short, since Asia high was taken and data lows still remained, would have been something like up here if it came up. Even though this would be the whole zone, this is a more refined version of that zone. So coming up 50-60% over here, coming back down, but really no deep mitigation. I would have been even okay with this. I had this marked out earlier, coming up here for a short, but just kind of started bleeding down. There was this short right here. I was a little bit too slow for this one. And just to kind of go, what I was seeing is we did have a fail to close on the 1 minute. So we had the swing high, okay? Price wicked above it, closed back into the range. So closed back into range. Same thing on the 10 seconds as well. So yeah, the swing high on the 10 seconds, 2 swing highs, and close wicked above it, close back in the range. So already these zones are going to be high probable. I was just a little bit too slow in identifying at the time. And over here, so this is a phenomenal trade actually. Hit 50-60%, went straight to that zone low. So anchored off this low over here to that high, risking that high. Of course, I do put a tick above that high just in case we do get that 100% mitigation. That's typically why equal highs and equal lows do occur. And, just went straight down to that zone low over there. So did not take that one. And I will show executions on Ninja. This one right here, I really liked. It did miss my entry by like 3 ticks. It was a little bit wide, about 15.25 points, which typically 15 points would be my max risk level. But I was okay just based on how clean the setup was. So we did take data lows. And typically when we're grinding down, I've noticed the first flip, especially on a lower time frame, tends to be a fake flip. So we did have this intense move up going out of this area over here. Figured this would just be a deeper retracement for a move to go lower. And we did create this 10-second zone right over here, which theoretically this would be a move origin. If you want to anchor it off this low, that would be the whole zone right there. But theoretically that would be the move origin, which I was more than okay with. So had my limit at the 60% mark right there, which was 539.75, came up to 538.50. So like I said, literally 3 ticks, and just headed down to zone low. And when 50% already gets mitigated, especially after that there has already been a first tap, when 50% gets mitigated, I will pull my limit off because, you know, it could run up to that zone high after that double tap, and the fact that the zone's already mitigated. Still would have, of course, hindsight still would have worked. However, that's just how, based on my rules and what I've seen, that's how I trade these zones over here. So great setup, just didn't tag me in. Next, we have this one right here. So we did, let me delete these real quick. So last time, remember I was talking about the wicks that tend to be a magnet. So we did have this 1 minute wick over here. Tap 50% of it, and there was a clear rejection out of it. And right down here, we did create this 10-second zone. And notice the displacement out of that zone. So typically when there's strong displacement like that, highly probable that the zone will, after it's mitigated, will go back to that zone high or zone low. So, and my limit at the 60% mark right here, tagged me in. It did go down pretty much past that 1-to-1. It came about, like, I believe 2 points away from TP. So as soon as I saw this come close to the TP area, I did go to break even, which luckily did save it from a loss. So that's just straight manage right there. Sometimes I will hold it. Sometimes I will go to break even depending on how price is moving. But just that was just a judgment call on my end. So break even, save the loss. So that was a break even right there. Now, next one, this was actually really quick. This was the win right over here. So we did have a couple fail to closes above, as you can see on the 1 minute right here. So we had a fail to close above there. Now, if this down here, this low, had the fail to close, I would not short this because that could indicate some chop or range bound conditions as well, which obviously you don't want to be shorting at the bottom of the range. However, since we did close back below these lows, that's going to indicate a little bit more of a continuation moving down, and we did have this larger 1 minute zone that had yet to be mitigated as well. Okay, so I actually have a video on this because a couple people were asking me. I typically do the ATM strategy prior to the trade, so I will adjust, let's say for this, for example, I'll double click and I'll see the tick value, right? 26 tick stop level, 38 tick profit level. I'll go to ATM and adjust that prior to the trade. However, if it's forming a little bit quicker than, you know, I would prefer, I would set my limit and then I would drag my stop and my TP level. Okay, so before I show you that execution, we did create this zone. Notice the displacement out of it as well. Strongest candle down. Took 60% of it, tagged me in, and then just went straight to TP. I mean, that was like less than, I would say, 15 seconds over there. And just to show you the execution right here. So I have my NinjaTrader chart pulled up over here and my trading view on the 10-second over here. Now, reason why I have it this way is for this reason, exact reason, where I could move my stop and my TP level off the bat. I don't use NinjaTrader to chart because I just personally do not like it. But just to show you this trade right here. So I actually just saw the zone like last minute, plotted the zone out. Now for me, I already have my 60% mark. So my main focus is just trying to get that limit on and not even worry about the ATM because it's so close to getting entry. And you can see it tags me in. I quickly move my stop, quickly move my TP. Went break even here actually because it was so close, and then went straight to TP. So you have to be definitely a little bit quicker on that one, but that's just my last ditch effort. If I can't get the limit in time and it is past my limit price that it would have been, I won't take it. That's just my personal rule. Doesn't mean you don't have to do that. And then just to move on, I did not take this one. I thought it was a really good setup actually. Just the way price was going kind of affected my judgment on it. So we did have this break below, and now granted at this time we were in a larger high time frame zone that this hit the 50% of. So there you would expect some more continuation moving down, right? So we did get this strong close through this low over here, set up a 10-second zone. Now for me, what affected my decision in this, and I'm glad I'm kind of doing this because I get to look back on it as well. This is like my form of journaling. Is so we have this 10-second zone, right? Strong displacement candle out of it. Set limit right up here at that 60%. Now, I wanted this candle right here, this move up, to tag me in. I did not like the fact that, and like I said, if this hit 50% and went to zone low, I still wouldn't take it anyways. However, this pushed up, rejected, came back up, came back close to that 50% as well, came back down. At that point, seeing how this was acting, I just didn't like it, and I kind of let that affect my opinion on the setup. So still nothing wrong with the setup. Rules wise, it still fit the criteria, and that's why I always tell myself prior is, keep your opinions out of it, because it can really affect if you're going to take a trade or not. So would have worked, noted it down, but overall great setup. I mean, this would have tagged in. It kind of chopped around for about like 30-40 seconds, and then went straight down to that zone low, which would have been another hour and a half over there. Now I do want to go over certain things to avoid. Now some could argue that this would be a zone, actually more so this right here, high that breaks the low, right? Now if you notice one thing, and this is something I keep an extra eye out, whether it's a 1 minute or the 10 seconds. So one thing I've noticed with this is, even though we were heading down and taking these lows, if you notice, none of the bodies closed below these wicks over here, as you can see. So the consecutive candles never actually closed the body below these wicks. So I actually noted that down before this even occurred, where this would not be a good zone to short. Reason being is we did not have a full closure below these, even on the 1 minute as well, which even if the 1 minute did, I mean, it wouldn't make sense because most likely a 10-second would. However, but let's say even the 1 minute did, but the 10 seconds look like this, I still wouldn't engage in that. Hence why this zone failed over here. And just to show executions on the PA account, so that was that first loss right there, which was after the 8:30 news. And the next one was the break even, which was down here. So entered in short, almost hit TP, went to break even. And then last winner was right there, entered in short, TP right there. So overall, great execution day. I wish more so, we could always be hopeful, but more so I would say I was quicker on this setup right here, and if this one tagged me in. I would say if I took this one, I would have probably called it for the day right there, because that would have more so taken out my loss as well. Or even if I took this, didn't get entry here, and took this as well, that's more than enough for me. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, comment, like, subscribe, you know the drill. And I will catch you next time. See ya.